Hey, I'm your host, Bree Wilde, and this is Marquee Memories. Here we sit down with your favorite artists to talk about their top concert memories as fans. Today's guest is the frontman of a legendary New Jersey punk band. They just released their 13th album, Born to Be, and are celebrating anniversaries of 3 other albums. They'll be hitting the road starting July. Greg Attonito of the Bouncing Souls, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, 13 albums.
Yeah.
I'm going to get right into a tough question of how do you make a set list with 13 albums?
Well, we could do a comedy show when the Bouncing Souls write sets. Every time it's hilarious because everybody has ideas about what works. And then, so then you've got input about, well, you never play this song. You never play that song. I'm like, okay, well, we have to play this song, which means, you get a lot of real estate taken up by the songs you have to play.
Your staples.
So I actually recently, because it's an ongoing thing, last year, I just was motivated. I was like, I'm going to make a list. And the list is called Perfectly Good Songs That We Might Play.
Okay.
And I made this list and I started making it. And then I presented it to the other guys. And they're like, awesome, because you're like, well, we'll stick a deep cut in somewhere, but then you can't ever think of them. But now I got a list.
Now you got a list. All right. Tell us about Born to Be.
I'm just really excited about it. We got together. We've been working with producer Will Yip for, I guess, 2 or 3 recordings, about 7-8 years. And we've just had such a great dynamic because, we're old punkers. And having Will come in and sort of mix up our whole songwriting process and add a lot of spontaneity to it has been fantastic. And I guess the fun detail about the writing and recording was we were booked to start the session with Will on a Monday. And like on Wednesday or Thursday, he's like, hey guys, I got to miss the first day. I got to fly to LA and collect a Grammy. And we're like, okay, cool. Heck yeah, man.
Sure, yeah.
So we'll miss that day. No problem. And so, he came out here and he won 2 Grammys with Turnstile. And which is fantastic. It's just so cool. He's got a new space in Philly and we all just were like kind of buzzing from him coming back. Yeah. And we took that day actually and we wrote a couple tunes. Like that Monday we hung out at the bass player Brian's house and came up with some new fresh ideas. And again, we had talked a lot about what we want to say in the record. With the division of the world right now, it's like we're a punk band. What do we say here? We're not an overtly political band, but we had a lot of discussions about it and felt like the energy that we put into our music is super important. And, we landed on what we've always been doing. What have we been doing? Well, we've been creating like a community and supporting community and people sharing ideas and being open to each other for a long, long time. So we're like, okay, let's keep, pushing that. And I think we luckily captured a lot of that energy in the record, not to ramble on, I think, which is not easy. And so then when you feel like, okay, I think we did it, yeah. That feels pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you know when, okay, this record is done? Like,
it's a good question. I think we give ourselves X amount of time and then, obviously you're like, well, we need at least 10 songs, like the technical aspects of it. But I think having tight deadlines is good.
Some creative limitations.
It's really good, and Will is great at that. He works super fast and we all trust him. So if we're getting heady about this or that part, he's the one. We're like, guys, trust me, this is good. Go here, let's do that. And we're like, okay, just let's move on. And then so making those choices, and I have to give us a lot of credit. For many years, we just butted heads, That's part of like doing that. You learning to do that together and then listen to each other. Mm-hmm. It's easier to take 10 minutes and try someone's idea than argue for an hour about it.
Yeah,
so then,
true.
That's my little tip for the, collaborating out there with people.
Did you learn that from your kid? Because I feel like that's a lesson you learn when you have kids. You can argue about it, or we can do it.
I have an 8-year-old, but I think I learned a lot about being a dad by being in a band first.
That makes sense.
For many years.
That makes
You're like, everybody's a psychologist to some degree, right?
Yeah, amazing. Do you feel like all the songs on Born to Be will get a live debut at some point?
We tried to try them all. And so always a few rise to the top immediately. Everybody's, I'm super stoked. Let's play this one. Let's play that one. And we've tried a couple out. We were in the UK for a week and we tried 3 songs, and we were really, a lot of times people are, even at best, you play a new song, it's not even out.
They're absorbing it.
Yeah, maybe they're just soaking it up. But, the impressions were fantastic for that being like a completely unknown. They went over great.
Nice. Shall we get into some of these memories?
Yes. Bruce Springsteen, East Rutherford, New Jersey, Giant Stadium, 1985. I'm 14 years old. I live in New Jersey. I haven't even really discovered punk yet. And that time, Bruce Springsteen was just sort of like probably maybe the biggest rock star in the world. It's hard to even like explain it. And then, I had a few of his records, and I was from New Jersey. It was like I knew where he was
hero.
from, And so my buddy Joe Flanagan somehow got tickets. He had 2 tickets, and now we're both 14. So I think he had a discussion with his folks, and somehow they agreed to let us go. Like, we got a ride from somebody.
Okay.
Dropped us off at Giant Stadium at age 14 in 1985.
Wow.
So I actually reached out to Joe, and I'm like, do you remember much of this? And my main memory, and this is, again, it's not just because it was Bruce, but it connected into something which I later remembered as a performer once I joined, became a musician. He does this thing during the song Hungry Heart. So he starts the song Hungry Heart. Everybody's going wild, and instead of singing that first verse, he just leaves it, and the whole 60,000 people sing the first verse and straight into the chorus. So that blew my 14-year-old mind to a level that, it was one of those moments when you're hearing music, you're interacting with music, that imprints in you in a way that you can't even explain. So, of course, I use that trick now. It's a
What
fantastic
song do you use
trick.
it on?
The Bouncing Souls use it on a song called Lean on Sheena.
Okay.
And once we do the beginning, but then when the first chorus hits, the band just drops out, and then everybody sings it.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce, for much.
Yeah, Bruce Springsteen is actually one of the most popular artists on Setlist to this day.
Yes, it's not a surprise.
So you're saying 1985, but 2026.
I know.
You should look at his Setlist.
I know, right? Right. What a career, right? Yeah.
So that was your first show?
I can't say for sure.
Okay.
I saw the Kinks around that time as well in New York City, which was another amazing experience. So there, I don't know exactly which came first. There's a couple, but that was like the biggest one.
How were you introduced to Bruce Springsteen?
I think, just on the radio, and like my sister was older, and it was just around, I had Greetings from Asbury Park, and I listened to that on repeat, and actually like had to, I stole some of the lyrics for like English class, just completely lifted some of that. Like I had some assignment, and I was like looking at the record. I'm like, I gotta get this done. Plagiarism. I didn't go past that. I didn't go past there with my plagiarism, but honestly, thanks for that as well. Yeah. The teacher didn't know.
Guess she wasn't a Bruce fan.
Exactly. But, I took a chance on that.
Did you see Bruce anytime after that?
No, I have not seen him since.
Well, I think you still have a chance.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's crazy. What is your favorite Bruce song? Is it the one where it drops out?
It's a classic. There's so many. I used to Spirit in the Night, again, as a deep cut, Sandy, Asbury Park. Those are the early ones, but, Born to Run, the classics, they're just really good.
Yeah. What do you like about Bruce as a performer?
Yeah, I think, again, as a mentor, there was that aspect of him connecting with people. So there's a certain magic that, you see some artists and musicians have, and that was so compelling, So again, once I started, this is way before I even had a thought about being in a band. But when I started going to punk shows and seeing smaller shows, and then you realize, oh, there's like 300 people here. And that's, when we would see those kind of shows, we'd be like, well, this is something we could do maybe. Mm-hmm. And then those things start to occur to you. But I think it's the connection. And that's what music is. It's like, it's not really about what the song is, if you're connecting with people, that's the essence of it. Yeah. So he does that very well.
Yeah. He's been doing it well for a long time, man.
Yep.
Shall we move on to Toots and the Maytals?
Yes. Toots and the Maytals, City Gardens, Trenton, New Jersey, 1988. Yeah, so I chose this one too because it's almost like a very different sort of perspective on my growing up. Again, I want to acknowledge like growing up where I grew up, like halfway between New York City and Philadelphia, like in the 80s and 90s, like we had access to so much cool stuff. Like I didn't even realize it until I left, That venue, City Gardens in Trenton, had if you just look at some of the bills from the 80s, it's insane. Like the cool bands that came through before they were really big kind of bands. And it was this pit stop between Philly and New York. So the bands, instead of taking a day off, they would go play there, and it was like a smaller venue. So you would get these kind of off, you'd see like bands, really big bands on like a Monday or a Tuesday.
Okay.
To like, maybe like the places they were playing in New York and Philly were twice as big, Anyways, so me, Pete, and Brian from the Bouncing Souls, that's also wanted to tell this. We were like really excited to see Toots,
And you were not in a band yet together?
We were.
Oh, you were. Okay,
we were. We
had
just started. So we all, now at this point, we have been going to shows. We had started playing some shows, local shows, and City Gardens was like our mecca. It was like, again, having that place, access to seeing all these different types of bands there. And we're going to go see Toots and the Maytals together, kind of as a band, field trip.
Yeah.
There's always a field trip there anyway, because, and so I got to paint the picture. Like, so back then, Trenton was the area was a rough neighborhood. And, the whole audience was like Jamaicans, it was like, so I'm a white kid from the suburbs, and this is like such an amazing, growing, expanding experience, like being in such a different place. And it was almost like living in a different world, weed on 11 in there, back then. And from the back, so all crowded in, tons of like 600 packed in. Toots comes from the back on, in this like total on, a whole group, comes from the back to the stage. And again, as a spiritual experience, honestly, the energy of the show, the contact high, probably.
Yeah, partly that.
Was like, just, again, I was really brought to a different place, in my mind, in my heart. And musically, to this day, I have such a deep connection to his music. And again, two different, but also coming from the heart, which is sort of the same, I think.
And how were you introduced to this band, or how did you discover them?
Well, we, as like punk rockers, we got into ska and, went backwards, it was like, I did so much going backwards, like discovering rock and roll and then just trying to figure out where it came from, listening to blues and then reggae and ska did the same thing, like the Specials, and then moving back to the 70s and 60s and rocksteady. And it was so cool how punk rock and ska went together. And that whole scene in like London, the two-tone stuff we just loved it. We loved that super fast ska, but also the rocksteady and reggae. And we just loved it. We loved all of it, all that stuff. So we just kept just trying to like learn about it, you know, from Bob Marley down the line, Lee Scratch Perry. And so I can't remember who, but it was around us. It was in zines, like people were writing about ska, and we had fanzines. Like you'd get a fanzine from somebody and that's how you learned about stuff. It was
Amazing.
Really underground. And, you know, I'm glad I saw that world. I came from that world.
Music discovery from fanzines. Wow.
Like for real. Like I remember the first time someone handed me one, it was just like you know, it doesn't seem like much of anything now, but at like age 16 or whatever, you're like, whoa, they're talking about like veganism. Like, what is that? You know,
it's
just
like a photocopy
crazy
sort of put together
stuff that you didn't even, you're like reading like this. That's where I first learned what veganism is. You know?
From a fanzine. Wow. Did you get to see them anytime after that?
I did. We actually opened up for them many years later in, which, you know, was amazing, in Massachusetts, only like shortly before he passed. It was like maybe 3 years before he passed in like 2016 or 15 or something. Did
you get to tell him the story of when you saw them?
I did. And he was just off doing his thing. I just was there just when he hit the stage, you know, enjoyed the show.
Did your band ever play City Gardens?
Yes, we did, which was just, again, one of those places that was like, I went afterwards, I played a million cool places. I played like the Budokan in Tokyo, you know, Red Rocks in Colorado, but I don't think it has much meaning to play that like crummy little like stickered, spray painted backstage, you know, that you couldn't even like, you know, barely fit in. That stage meant more to me probably than playing like all these amazing places I've played.
You saw so many shows there and now you're playing shows.
And that your age, I think it's about that age, you know, like that becomes so meaningful. It's so impressionable in those, you know, early teen years, late teen years.
So you were already playing music at this time. So
yeah, we were just starting. Like we were doing covers. The guy promoting the shows there, he really liked to promote local bands. Like, for example, Ween. I was there when Ween's first show was at City Gardens. They opened up for They Might Be Giants. And Randy, the promoter, was like, he knew we were local kids. And he's like, these kids are local. He would be like, come on, check these guys out. They're opening up. They're named Ween, you know? We're like, okay, cool. And he sort of did the same thing for us. That's like cool. A year or so later, he gave us, and again, famously, another fun detail about the Bouncing Souls, we opened up a show. We opened up for the Ramones there.
Oh, nice.
I can't remember. It was another show we opened up, and we forgot to get paid. That's how excited we were. We were like we're just like, yes, we did it. Like maybe it was the first show we played, and this is how cool Randy was. Like we showed up maybe a week later to some other show, and he's like, hey guys, you forgot to get paid. You know, hold on. And he comes out with like $50 or whatever we got paid.
They Might Be Giants came in here.
Oh, they did.
And we told them 3 memories, and they said, no. We have a list. And they came with a paper full of memories.
Those guys do homework then.
Yeah, they did. They're like, thanks for the suggestion, but we're going to do 7.
Oh, so, funny.
Yeah. Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Halloween, 1987 at the Ritz in New York City. Yeah, so that was, again, these early experiences, I think maybe was the first time I went into the city for a show. Like, our older friend like had a car. We didn't even have driver's licenses. And me, Brian from the Bouncing Souls, and this guy, Brad, drove in. And so Halloween in 1987, New York City in itself is just a really incredible experience at age 16 or 17, you know. And then at the Ritz, you know, everybody was in costume. Like, you didn't know if they were punks or they were in costume.
Or dressing as punks, yeah.
Again, same thing. It was like really amazing. Like, you know, they came out in like full body paint, like socks on the cocks, like the whole thing. Again, like the energy was intense and mind-moving experience. Just like seeing something like this is way beyond like suburban New Jersey that I just can't even believe this is like just 30 minutes away from my world.
Yeah.
That, you know, crazy. So, you know, that's, I don't have much else to say about it other than it was just like the sensory overload of it was incredible.
Nice. Have you seen them since?
I saw them one other time after, and that was like, again, soon after that, they played outdoors at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, which was cool. It was very early. It was the early days, maybe 2-3 years later. Yeah, they were a big influence too.
I was wondering if you had any cool stories of the Stone Pony, because I checked on Setlist,
Yes.
and that's the venue you play the most.
Yes. It's funny because and
that's like a Bruce spot too, right?
Yeah. It's an iconic spot, and I had been there. It's interesting because I've been there, and it was like the home of Bruce, and it has this like Jersey Shore legendary thing. I always knew about it, but we didn't go to shows there much when I was growing up because we always went to like City Gardens because it was a little too far for me, or we would go to like Fire Hall punk shows. But I had been there, and it was really cool. And when we tried to play there, we weren't quite big enough. We were putting on our own shows. So it's the same as like Stone Pony in New York City. We had to leave Jersey and New York to get big.
Okay.
And then like we played New York City at like 2 a.m. We were playing all these little clubs, Continental, CBGBs. We played at 2 a.m. and trying to get in. And it was like, why are we doing this? For like, and this is like late 80s. And then finally we're like, we're not going to do that anymore. And then we ended up getting bigger. And then the promoters from New York came calling. And that's sort of what happened with the Stone Pony. We were able to play there. I saw some shows there, not a lot, like 2 or 3, because again, it wasn't really as close.
Yeah.
But it became our home away from home. And that's what it is now. Because we started a festival there.
The Stoked for Summer.
Well, the Stoked for the Summer was born from a festival called Home for the Holidays.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we got the idea from our good friends, the Money Money Boss Tones. In the 90s, they did this thing called the Hometown Throwdown, which in December, they would do I don't know, it's like 6 nights at this club called the Middle East. And they always invited us, and we could never do it, but they were always try to get us to play it, which was cool. So we were like, let's do something like that in Jersey.
Yeah.
And the Stone Pony was into it. So we would do 3 nights right after Christmas.
Nice.
And they loved it because it was so slow back then. Asbury Park has since been transformed, but it was really like a ghost town kind of for many years. Scooby-Doo ghost town, I call it, because it was sort of had these old amusement park rides. And we used to go there and surf, but it was like a scary place at the beach. Yeah, it was really wild. But we'd go there surfing because no one would be there. So anyways, it was really super cool, again, to be from New Jersey and then to sort of now becoming deeply ingrained into the Stone Pony history. Like we did 9 years in a row. We did Home for the Holidays. And every year we would come back and the people at the venue, security guys, everybody would be like, we're so happy you're here. Usually this is a really slow time. They loved us. So we all got along great. It was like a 3-day party after Christmas.
Nice.
So before it got bad, we realized a good thing isn't going to last forever.
Fair.
You got to sort of project and know, when to duck out. I think in a lot of things in life. So we said, okay, I think maybe this is the last one. What can we do? And we decided to say, do one day, one night, one show in the summer when they have the summer stage, because they didn't even have the summer stage when we first started.
Okay.
And they just do outdoor shows at the beach in the summer. So we were like, it's going to be way easier. It's a lot easier to book one show instead of 3 shows, especially during the holidays. And so that's how Stoked for the Summer was born. So now it's the 10th year of Stoked for the Summer Festival. And they invited us back, which was really cool. 2 years ago, the Stone Pony was doing its 50-year anniversary. And they said, we want you guys to end the year. They did a whole bunch of stuff all year. Like Bruce came and played, and we wanted to do one last Home for the Holidays as the kickoff last party.
Yeah.
And we were like, we couldn't say no to that. So we did 10 home for the holidays. And now this will be the 10th Stoked for the Summer.
Do you plan on keeping
Yeah, the Stoked for the Summer. We want to keep it going. It's going great. But again, the home for the holidays was tough. Like 3 nights after Christmas. It's like you're hosting a 3-day Christmas party. It's like a lot of fun.
Yeah. How did you build the set list for those?
We've done so many things because again, these people that are coming out to that, they've seen us like 20 times.
Yeah.
And I always lean on, we try something fun. One of my favorite things we did was we kind of lifted the idea from Elvis Costello, who I know he at one point went on tour with like a Wheel of Fortune kind of thing.
Yeah.
He got songs. So we searched out one of those like bingo machines with the ping pong balls.
Okay.
And our crew guys somehow found one of those machines, and I wrote 100 songs on ping pong balls. And the band, that was probably a time when we knew all those songs, which was like to rehearse them and remember them on the fly. So it was like a game show. It was like being a game show. What we did was we had the bingo machine with all the balls going, and our buddy Pete Peterson would pick the ping pong ball out and then write it on a dry erase board and show it to the crowd. And so the crowd knew what the song was going to be next, but we didn't. So the song would end, and then he would like show us, and then we'd be like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and like try to do it. So it was super fun. And, you know, the band was just like heavyweight champs. Like we were like, we can do this, you know, like, oh, we got this. And like, that felt really good to be like at the top of our performance game and remembering those tunes like on the fly like that.
100 songs on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So yeah, you got to work for that though. Like that takes a lot of work because they go away so fast. You know, if you don't rehearse the songs, they just go away.
Yeah. Do you think at this point you could still play 100 songs?
We would have to rehearse like a lot, you know, like they come back after 2 or 3 times. You just got to run through them. Like you can't just be like, oh, I can't play that song immediately. I'm going to like struggle through it a little bit. But if I do it 2 or 3 times, I can probably do it. Yeah.
We have a lot of tour dates coming up, but I noticed you tour a little differently than you did back in the day.
Yes.
You like do short bursts and then take a break. Does that work out way better for you?
Yes. You know, my wife at one point, she did the math, and there was a period of about 10 years where we were on the road for about 9 months per year. And she was just like, I kind of did that math and said that to me. And I was like, how did I even do that? You know? Yeah. So yeah, we figured out, you know, as life changes, you know, people have kids. You want to keep your life at home actually going okay. Yeah. And we've been able to work it out. So yes, we do have a 2-week rule. Nice. Give or take a day. Okay. And then, you know, we do fly-in festivals, which is great because then I can, you know, get back and take my son to school. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be really just still bringing music out in the world and having fun with my friends.
Did anybody ever try to tell you like punk rock is dead, and what did you say?
Yeah, people say that. People say that.
I don't care.
Yeah, it's like I think we've sort of created our own world, you know, and I think we have an audience, and we have a great relationship, and the rest of the world can do whatever it wants, you know. Like I can like it or not like it, you know. It's okay, you know. As far as the trends of music and popular music,
you have your own.
Yeah, it comes and goes, you know. Yeah.
Does your 8-year-old like your music?
He does. Nice. He does. And it's awesome. He's actually starting to play drums. Yay. And, you know, I was really, really happy. He likes a lot of music. He started out on Star Wars. Okay. And then, so we were doing like sound, like movie scores. Okay. He wanted to listen to them in the car. I'm like, was John Williams in the car? Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah.
And so, yeah, age 6, like a friend was like, however, you know, what's your favorite band? And he's like, the John Williams Band. Nice. Which was hilarious. Yeah. So then, and of course, this is a great rock and roll moment. I have to share one more thing about my son. So he started playing drums. We got him a little kit, and he's very good. Like his rhythm's really good. Nice. He's relaxed, and he enjoys it, and he's very creative. And so he's starting to listen. We've been talking about, we listen to music in the car, and we're like, oh, listen to this part. Okay, that drum part here. And so my wife and I do that anyway, and so he started doing it.
That's cool.
So we're driving to school, and he goes, he's like, my friend, he's getting into heavy metal, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm not even sure he knows what heavy metal is, but I want to play you the first heavy metal band, okay? They're called Black Sabbath, okay? So I turn on Iron Man, right? And right away, I can see he's locking in. And then after like 2 minutes, he's like, Dada, can we play this? And I was like, yes, we can. We can.
We sure can. Yeah.
So yeah, we started playing Iron Man.
That's really cool. And you're also an artist.
Yeah.
And you have another band called Playdate?
Yes. That's a project I've been doing with my wife for almost 12 years now.
Nice.
It's a kind of a long story. It sort of happened accidentally. We didn't really purposely say, hey, we're going to start music for families or kids. But it's been super fun. It's sort of like, music for parents that like they can share with their kids.
Makes sense.
And bring the kids out to a show and sort of like see a little junior rock and roll intro to rock and roll show.
Yeah, yeah.
And we kind of present it that way, and we interact with the kids a little bit, and sort of, it's been a cool ride. I've learned so much by doing that, and we have a lot of fun, and I could
Do you have
into
a great Playdate show memory of like one that you played that was?
Yeah, it's funny. I gotta say, like, of all people that were, well, let's see, we were playing in Seattle. It was a small little show, so we've played. We'll do anywhere from like maybe 15 to 20 kids and families to like up to like 50 or 100. But beyond that, like, when you get up to 50, we need a drummer. Yeah. So we learn these things. So you can do an intimate show with acoustic and bass. But we have a couple of songs where we get kind of like encourage them to kind of go nuts. Yeah, okay. One song's called "I'm Rad," and we encourage them to rock out. Right. So this one kid, he probably was maybe 3 or 4 years old, and we start playing and we're rocking, and the kids are sort of dancing in the front, and then he, like, almost like he's in the pit at a hardcore show, he like tears his t-shirt off, and he's kind of like this, and he like throws it, and he's just kind of like,
how did he even know to do that?
I am dying. I'm like looking at each other, like, don't look at each other, because we were gonna start dying. Like, this kid, like, how exactly? Yeah. So I'm telling my friends, I'm like, this is happening, and then they're like, somehow they're born like that. Then I guess like he is just born to be in the pit at a hardcore show.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such a good story.
Yeah, but then you get these things like amazing, like the kids. You think you can perform, then play for kids because they're not polite. That's what I learned. Like, we know you get the real response. That is a true test of a musician. I will say, if you think you're good.
The Mighty Giants said the same thing. They're like, oh, those are a tough audience.
Yeah, because they'll just walk away, Or a lot of times you see a kid just like this, and then his parents are like, what's wrong, And I'm that kid too, because he's the introverted kid that's just like absorbing it. And then doesn't stop talking about it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I get that.
So that's a bit of the details on some of the details on Playdate.
Amazing, cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing these memories and telling me your rock and roll kid moments too.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.